Hi, this is Cece with Going Solo, and you are listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network. And I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. We got a lot of excitement going on in the house here. So we've been doing a lot of really fun things, and I'm excited about where Going Solo Network is going. We're doing a lot of really fun things. I would invite you to check out our website. I kind of updated it. We have two websites now. We have goingsolonetwork.com, which has all of our groups and all of our information on connecting singles throughout the Tampa Bay area. And we're hoping to broaden that into a more national arena. And then we have the radio stuff, which is on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. That is going to be either our call letters or the WGSN-DB Going Solo network. And we might be changing that to a little bit of a different handle on that. But we're trying to broaden everything out for you guys because we're doing a lot of really cool things. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to touch on Meet the Author, Author's Corner, where we highlight a terrific author. And I wanted to share it with you because so many times we get books that are so touching to us and they can make a difference in our lives. And so this is one of those authors that I want to share with you. So Rita, come on board with me, okay?
Okay, I'm here, Cece.
All right, let's bring you forward, front and center. We have Rita Mayell.
You got it.
Mayell, and she's with us today. She has written this terrific book about her father. Tell us the title.
It's called 5'2" Giant, Builder of Dreams. And then the subtitle is One Ordinary Man Who Changed the World.
Yeah, I think, it just seems so touching for you to write a book about your dad. I mean, what a wonderful tribute. Not only, I guess, is he, but to you and for you to write it, it's just really just so awesome. So what brought you to this point where you've, number one, decided to be an author? Because it's quite a talent that you have, and to share with the world your writing ability, and then also write about your dad. So share that with us.
Sure. It was a dream since I was 17 years old. And I tell people that when you're 17, it had to be something God put in my heart, because who at 17 is going to be writing a book? I was an extrovert. I was out playing tennis. I was dating, the life. And yet there was this desire that just would never go away, that I wanted to write about my dad. And so the next question is, why would I want to write about my dad, right? And I think for me, he just was this giant of a man. He was only 5'2" in a world where, we equate value and worth with size. And so at a very early age, he grew up and he was bullied, and yet he overcame. And he was this amazing man who not only had a giant visionary to do things to come back from people who said he would never make it or be anything in the world, to be very successful as a businessman. But even more so as a father, he knew how to love me. He knew how to make me feel valuable and worthwhile. And he would tell me that. And if you were in our house, Cece, for 5 minutes, you would feel the same way. And he had this magnetic ability to make you feel the first 5 minutes of any moment that you could do anything in the world, and that and he would be behind you to support you. And so I grew up in a home where I saw my father stop for the homeless. He invited people into our home to live, and he just had this ability to love people. And just, and I wanted the world to know, because we live in a world that needs hope and inspiration. And, I kind of thought that, I had a desire to write the book, and, in the first 10 years after it was, after I wrote it, it would be out. And that wasn't the case. So this was a dream that I've had in my heart for 40 years. And so just a lot of my own personal challenges with that. But I also now look at that and think, oh my God, it's time, because I'm ready to do it. And so I think sometimes when we're waiting for a dream, it's not about the dream itself. It's for preparation for us to be ready for the dream, so that whatever happens in that dream, that we're able to be anchored in a place when something happens. And so that's really been my journey.
I so agree with that, because so often, even in my own life, there's things that I plan, but then it doesn't go off right. And I'm thinking like, what is going on with this? You know, for instance, I'll just as an example, we're building a new website. We had it almost ready to launch, bring it out for everyone. We're talking about it, sharing it, doing all this stuff. And then something happened, and it, you know, we had to take a step back and rebuild some of the things in it. So I started thinking about that, exactly what you said. And I thought about, you know what, it's the journey. It's not the actual reaction of what we've accomplished in our lives. It's the journey that takes us to that, so that we can be ready for that moment.
Yeah.
And so I love what you said, because I really think that that's so many people out there are struggling, and they're going through some difficulties. And so this book that you've written, I think, will really touch and uplift them, and let them understand that sometimes we have to go through even what we don't understand. We have to go through it to get to the other side. And when we're there, we really appreciate it, don't we?
You know, it's so true, Cece, because so many times I thought, oh, I'm ready. And, you know, I had a traditional publisher accept it 3 years ago. And I thought, oh, now finally it's ready. It's my time. And then at the last minute, there was a change in leadership in that, and they decided to nix the project. And it was like, again, a dashed dream. When I now look back in hindsight, I realize the orchestration of, you know, of the timing and why it's different. And for me, if I can share this, because I think it would be so encouraging, I thought that when I had a dream, what would endorse my dream is if it were, you know, if it was published by a traditional publisher. You know, that would have been the mark of success. And so when the last time it was accepted was dashed, and it was accepted 3 times. So that's, you know, that's tough. And so I just remember one day, just, you know, and this was in January of this year, and I just put the book down and I just said, I'm done. I don't know what to do anymore. I've done everything I know to do. And yet I believe that when the dream is right, it never can die. It stays in us, and you can try to oppress it. You can try to squelch it. You can try to pretend it's not there. But I believe when a dream is put in our hearts by God, that's my heart, that's my belief, it can't die, because it's all a part of who he is, which is everlasting. Therefore, it can't die. And so I never could let go, but I just thought, I just don't know how to do this anymore. You know, the hours of proposals and everything. And I remember this gal called me up and said, I want you to come to hear this speaker. And I thought, okay, you know. And so I got to this meeting, and this guy said, you know, I want to talk to you about dreams. And I thought, okay. And he talked about the difference of our expectation of how things should look, or standing in expectancy and believe things are going to be good, but not dictate what they should be, how they should look like. And I realized in that moment that I had kind of put an expectation of, in order for something to be the right kind of dream, it had to look a certain way. And I remember going home, and I was just really crying and just saying, okay. And I went to bed, and I just said, you know, I'm done. I'm just going to release this. And about 3 days later, I woke up and I thought, I think I'm supposed to self-publish this. That had never been a thought. It had been so far off my radar. And yet I had this amazing liquid peace from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. And within 3 weeks, I found editors. I did an LLC. I did, you know, everything fell. And all of a sudden, I was having the time of my life. And it was kind of probably how you feel with your website. All of a sudden, you get into this flow and you go, oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is so right. And that's really how it's been. So I look at it and I think, you know, when you're in that place of a dream to the time of fruition, there's that place, that inner place called waiting. And there's all sorts of, some people wait longer than others, doesn't mean anything. It just means that there's just some things in life that have to happen to prepare you for that. So, you know, and that's my encouragement, that when it's right, it will happen. It's just sometimes it's not our pathway. It's not how it looks to us, But when it happens, you realize, and I even now look back and I think, because like you, the book came out 6 weeks earlier than it was supposed to come out. And so that was another whole thing going, great, I've waited this long and now there's another glitch. And yet, so here's my thing. I love this. I mean, this is when you look at it and you go, look at this. 6 weeks earlier, my dad's buildings, he was a builder, they're under landmark monument status in the state of California in the city of Pasadena. And the book information gave credibility to the landmark status, which was voted on 5 weeks before the original date. So if it hadn't gone out early, they wouldn't have had that credibility to pass that. I mean, you see what I'm saying? And you go, what I thought was a mistake, and that just messes up my whole plan and agenda and strategy. It was a timing thing. And so you look at that and you go, it causes me, when I don't understand the way things are supposed to go, Cece, I can always trust God. And that's really what I'm learning, is to be able to rest and say, I don't get this, but I used to fight it, and because I'm just that kind of person. And so I'm now learning to just rest and say, okay, it's not what I think, but I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust it.
Yeah, I think that is so valuable. I don't know why we're having a feedback here. What's going on? But anyhow, it's very, very important. It's very good advice. But I wanted to also share is that so often when I struggle, I go to bed and, because I think we have to meditate a little bit. And so I have some quiet time when I'm finally going to sleep. And so I just kind of go over things in my head, and I'm very grateful for all that I have. Everything that's happened to me has been just been grace. I mean, it's just a blessing. And so I always thank, the Lord for everything, the angels, the Lord, all of that, for all that is going on in my life. And then I say, okay, now what's next? What am I supposed to do here? How, and whatever the problem is, whether it's little, big, or whatever, I share that. And I say, what am I supposed to do next? And then I go to sleep. And when I get up in the morning, I have a very clear vision of exactly what I need to do.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm awakened very early in the morning, and that I have to get it done. I have to get it done. And so one of the things for me was that I had to put together a new website for Going Solo Network and show all that I'm doing, because all of my friends go, what are you doing? You've got doing all these different things. We see you out there doing all these different things, so put it together in one spot. And so that's what I kind of done. I've still got to tweak it and do some things to it. But it is the journey of what we're going on and the path. And sometimes that path is not always clear to us. Mm-hmm. And so I love the idea of your dad, that he was able to really be a visionary, there was probably a lot of kooky things he did, when you were growing up, that he did. And that you didn't really understand why he did some of these things, but he knew, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. I don't know where I got this saying from, but it's proven true. I have always said, and I would love to take credit for it, but I can't. But children are the best recorders of information, but the worst interpreters. And I think there were so many times, and I think that was also the process of why I waited, because I had to grow in maturity of how I interpreted his story, not from the eyes of a child that was wounded, but of an adult who's been healed. And so I can pull away, and I now see his life from a whole different perspective. And I appreciate so much, because he was never one. There were times that I didn't understand some things that did happen. We were very well to do, and there was a guy that swindled us for money, and my parents, life drastically changed. Therefore, my life drastically changed. And it was really, really a hard time for me at around the age of 8 or 9. And I just didn't get it. I was moved out of, we had lots of homes to one, and it was very small. And and all of a sudden my parents talked about money, and it never was a conversation in our home. And I was thrown into public schools and I didn't understand it. We moved out of the South into California. So that was a whole big culture change. And, there was all different things that happened. And I remember sometimes really arguing and fighting because I was the kid who always said, why? And if it wasn't a good enough answer, I kept on asking because I'm the kind of person who needs understanding. And I remember in this one case, my dad and I just were fighting. And I remember my mom broke it up and said, Lionel, you've got to go and speak and MC this thing and this meeting. And Rita, you're going to, and you're going to put on your best smile and you're going to look like a young lady kind of thing. And I remember my dad was coming up to the platform, CC, and this is what made him a giant for me. And he came up to the platform and he said, I can't MC. My daughter and I have just had a horrible misunderstanding, and I exasperated her because I was angry, and I'm the adult. And wherever she is here in this auditorium, I'm asking forgiveness because her old man was wrong. And he said things that were really belittling and hurtful and shaming. And I need to ask forgiveness. And I think what was so powerful gift for me was that even in his mistakes, he was the first one to raise his hand and say, I made a mistake. And it always created an environment for me to want to be honest because I knew I would be heard. Wasn't always perfect. There were times, but there was always this quickness to be able to forgive and to make it right rather than harbor and cause, things. And that's a huge thing because that's not how he grew up. His father was abusive. His mother was, different. And so for him to be able to come through that was just a powerful encounter that he had and with God. And so that radically changed how he parented, but he had to learn because he had never had it modeled.
Yeah, that's an important statement because so often, we do have experiences in our life that are negative.
Yep.
And so, how are we going to take that twist on that? How are we going to, change our path and make our path a little bit different? And I remember telling my daughter like years ago, she was a teenager and she was mad at me about saying no on something or whatever. And I said, listen, you didn't come with a book. I don't know how to parent. I'm just doing the best I can, And so, and I remember her looking at me like, oh my gosh, Mom. But, it's true. We get these children, we have these beautiful babies, and we just try to make the best we can,
Yep.
Yeah. And we're human and we make mistakes. And your father was awesome by acknowledging, when he did make a mistake, because I'm sure everyone in that auditorium was thinking, wow.
Yeah.
And so there are probably many in that seat, in the same hot seat he's in, going through the same thing, where they might have said something to someone they love and care about that maybe wasn't really the right way of doing it, but he showed them how to be humble and how to apologize. So yeah, that was awesome. Very, very good. Yeah, this book is very important. And I think especially with those that I are around, that my following, who are coming through some of the most difficult times in their lives, I think it can be a very uplifting book for them to read.
Great.
And know that there's a path out there. You may not understand what you're going through now, but you still have some sort of path a journey that you're going to be experiencing, you're going to be going on, and you have to get through it. So So it's great. It's kind of neat to hear, and I know you don't like that, but to hear about the journey that you went on to write this book, to prepare for this book, because
I think my dad's story is not my story, and I think that sometimes when people read the book and it seemed at times, and he had 2 failed marriages, and he wasn't a good father with his first 2 kids. And, he made mistakes. And so, there's all this stuff because none of us are perfect and we're all on this journey. And I think if my father were alive today, he would just say, I learned to just love and listen. And he just really studied his children. And he knew how to communicate with me, and he knew how to communicate with my sisters and brothers. And so he literally took that time to do that, but it wasn't always perfect. And so it's really that ongoing, like you said, Cece, that communication of acknowledging. And when he was, and I think that comes with age and maturing as well. But it's never too late to go back, and there's never too late to have a second chance and a third chance, because let me tell you, he'd be the first one to say, I've had 20, chances. But his journey was different than mine. And people sometimes, in fact, I've had people say, gosh, your life must be really different because you grew up with a family who loved you and da, 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 da. But, when my father died when I was 20 years old, and I will tell you, to be honest, when he died, I felt like I died, because he was the one person in my family that saw me for Rita. And I didn't fit the norm. I mean, I'm always the challenge person, and I'm always the visionary, and I'm never going to be satisfied with mediocrity. I'm just that kind of person. And that didn't fit the Southern mold of my mom from Vicksburg, Mississippi. I just didn't. And my father saw that my mom really didn't. And so when he died, I kind of felt like I died. And then to have a dream that just kept on and on and on, there was a lot of heartbreak, and there was a lot of pounding of the fist going, do you love me? Am I really okay? Is this really, all of the quest of really just pressing in to really think, am I really okay? Is this on track? And so I had to go through those things, because my journey was not my father, and you don't inherit your parents. You've got your own journey. And I had to learn and have and experience my own markers that said, yes, you really are okay. Your journey's just different, because your purpose is different. Your destiny is different. And it's not any worse or better. It's just different, because I've created you differently. And so I've had to really learn through that process of waiting and asking questions to unequivocally today say, yeah, I am okay. And I am real different. And thank God there's only one of me. And thank God there's only one. My friends would go, oh, thank you, God, there's only one. You know what I'm saying? We all have it. And and that's my heart, Cece, as it is you, for people, no matter where they've come from, or no matter what the questions, that there are answers, and that they are one of a kind, and they are deeply valuable and special, and there is something for them. In fact, sometimes it's right under our nose. We just need another person to be able to point out those patterns, to say, hey, that, because when something's a gift, we don't recognize it because it's natural to us. But it's a gift. And that's why we all need one another. Isolation doesn't work. And that's, and yet when we're hurting, what is the first thing most of us do? Is isolate and pull back. Right. And so whoever's watching tonight, boy, my encouragement is just to, reach out to somebody and to walk along one another, because together, I'm no further ahead than anyone else. We're really shoulder to shoulder, side by side, on the journey together. And that's really what, to me, it's all about, just loving people. I love what God says, that my job is to love people, not judge them, not put them on a pedestal or put them in a box of my expectation or thinking, but to love them, because none of us know another shoes that somebody's walked in, or their filters or experiences. And so I've really learned, thank you, God, through both of my parents' example and through horrible choices I've made, to really just recognize that, we're all together on a journey. It just may look different, and how we can just encourage one another. We're right where we are.
Yeah, and beautifully said. And thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. I appreciate it so much. So tell us, Rita, how can we find the book? How can we buy it?
You can find it on Amazon, 5'2" Giant, Builder of Dreams, or any retailer, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million. It's on their online, not in stores, but online. So either Amazon is probably the easiest because you can go right on Amazon and order 5'2" Giant, Builder of Dreams. It's bright red, so you can't miss that. And then my name, Rita Mayell, Mayell. And it's a Kindle version as well as a soft cover version. So either way on Amazon, or again on Barnes and Noble or Books A Million online as well.
Well, I think it's a great book. I think it's very inspiring. Will definitely help us. You know, we need that. We need to, and I tell everyone to read a little bit every day, try to put some good positive information into their system. I like to do it, you know, before I go to sleep at night so that it, you know, pumps me up and gets me ready for the next day. And, you know, we just need to, like you said, we need to join together and get through it, you know. And sometimes when we embrace others, we learn a lot from them.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being on the show, and thank you for letting us showcase you, because I just think that it is just, you're a beautiful person, and just the wisdom and the knowledge and your strength that you show going through some of your journey is just beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing a part of that with us tonight.
Thank you, Cece. Appreciate it. Love being here.
Thank you so much. Well, I tell you what, you know, the time goes fast, and we will have to make a close for today. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are both radio and live TV. Just go to our website, which is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and you can pick up the show there, and we'll stream it live again for you so you have it in case you miss it. But we love you guys. This is Cece with Going Solo. Please join us each and every week. I'm right here for you. I'm going to be branching out. We're going to be doing some new things. We're going to be on a new channel, which I'm very excited about. It's a WTEK, which we're going to pick us up, and I'm really excited about that. So I got that news today, so I'm going to start preparing for that. So we got a lot of really cool things happening, and it's because of you. It's absolutely because of you. So thank you so much. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week.